Did you hear me?
I heard you.
Welcome back, Warner fam. Tonight, we're diving into the twisted depths of the 2020 horror film, The Special. Keep your eyes open, and whatever you do, don't look away. The movie begins with steady hands carving into wood. Each cut is precise, deliberate. A carpenter works in silence, shaping a simple wooden box, but there's something off about it. Too perfect, too intentional. The final touch? A small, circular hole on one side. Somewhere else, in a dimly lit bar, Jerry Harford drowns his sorrows in whiskey. His fingers tap against the glass, his mind tangled in suspicion. He thinks his wife, Lisa, has betrayed him. He wants to forgive her, to move past it. But across the table, his friend Mike scoffs at the idea. Weakness, Mike calls it. Forgiveness only invites more pain. He leans in closer, voice dripping with temptation. You want payback? I know just the place. A brothel. A secret one. The kind of place that doesn't just offer pleasure. It offers something special. Jerry hesitates. His gut twists. But Mike smirks, eyes gleaming with wicked excitement. One night won't hurt, right? Slowly, Jerry nods. And just like that, he seals his fate. Mike drives Jerry through winding, empty streets, the car's engine humming like a heartbeat in the quiet night. The brothel they're headed to is hidden behind a false front, disguised as a psychic's clinic. Mike forces Jerry to wear a plastic bag over his head, keeping the location a secret, even from him. It's all about control, keeping Jerry from returning, keeping him away from the special if he craves more. When they step inside, the air is thick with mystery. The walls are adorned with strange symbols, flickering candles casting shadows on the floor. Jerry's gaze locks on a woman named Sin, her eyes like pools of darkness. To his shock, she calls him by name, saying she could see it in his eyes. That's no ordinary woman, Jerry thinks. But before he can say a word, an older woman enters. Madame Jorah, the psychic who runs the brothel, welcomes them with a knowing smile. Jerry's drawn to Sin, but Mike pushes him forward. Get the special, Mike insists. Jerry thinks Madame Jorah must be the special, but the moment she leads him away, the truth hits him. The real special thing is waiting in a different room, hidden in the shadows. Jerry steps into the room, his eyes scanning the shadows. He's puzzled. There's no one there. His mind races. Is this some kind of joke? His heart skips when his gaze falls on a sealed box, an odd hole carved into the side with a simple note. Stick it in here. He looks around, half expecting to be caught in a prank, but the room is quiet, the air heavy with anticipation. Feeling a strange pull, Jerry decides to follow the instructions. The moment he complies, something shifts inside him. It's unlike anything he's ever felt before. Dark, thrilling, and completely overwhelming. His body trembles, his mind swirling with confusion, and eventually, he succumbs to exhaustion, passing out on the cold floor. When Mike finds him, panic creeps in. He doesn't know what happened. He hurries to dress Jerry, his hands shaking. Madame Jorah watches from a distance, her eyes sharp with something darker. She calls for a worker to help Mike carry Jerry to the car. As they leave, her voice coldly cuts through the tension. Don't bring him back. He's wanted by the special. Jerry stirs in the backseat of the car, groggy and disoriented, still haunted by what happened. His mind races, trying to piece together what he felt, what was in that box. But Mike's voice snaps him back to reality, insisting they don't need to know. It's better that way, Mike says, like there's a dark truth buried beneath the surface. When they reach Jerry's house, Mike promises that next time, he'll take Jerry to see Sin again. He says just one mystery box experience is all anyone needs. And though it's not a rule, there's something deeper behind it, something Jerry's not yet ready to understand. Inside, Lisa's waiting for him, her face twisted in frustration. She's furious about his late-night drinking. But then, she drops a bombshell. She's pregnant. Jerry freezes. His mind flickers back to his doubts about her loyalty and his worries about his own body. With a cold, bitter laugh, he blurts out, "Are you sure it's mine?" Lisa's face pales, her anger turning into heartbreak. Later that night, Jerry's alone in bed, his mind spiraling. A strange sensation takes over, and in the quiet darkness, he experiences something he didn't expect. The night drags on, leaving him with more questions than answers. The next morning, Jerry stumbles into work, his head pounding and his mood as dark as the hangover creeping up on him. He slumps down next to Mike and grumbles about the pregnancy news. He tells Mike how Lisa's now accusing him of seeing other women, blaming him for his late-night mistakes. But then Jerry remembers something from a few days ago. Lisa had booked a snowblower, but had to call the salesman herself. Jerry had jumped to the wrong conclusions, assuming the worst about her. He sighs, realizing just how wrong he's been about his wife, and even more, he feels a deep regret about the revenge cheating, though deep down, he still doesn't fully see it as cheating. But despite all these realizations, Jerry's obsession grows. He has to know where the brothel is. Mike shuts him down every time he asks, but Jerry won't back off. He decides to find out on his own. During his lunch break, Jerry books an appointment with a psychic, the same way Mike had gotten him into this mess. At the psychic's office, he asks for Madame Jorah's address. his eyes burning with desperate curiosity. After some time and a few twists, Jerry tracks down the brothel, his heart racing. He doesn't hesitate. He offers to pay double for the special, whatever it takes. After another wild experience, Jerry's mind races, and he can't shake the feeling that there's more to the box than he's been told. His hands tremble as he inspects the inside, but it's empty, nothing. Then his fingers brush against something hidden. He finds a lock on the back. The box is light enough to carry, so a thought crosses his mind. What if he could take it? As he starts to leave with the box, Madame Jora appears in the doorway, blocking his escape. In the heat of the moment, Jerry panics. She tries to stop him, but he doesn't know what else to do. Without thinking, he steps on her throat, the pressure building as her struggles grow weaker. Her breath slows, and soon, she's motionless. Jerry freezes, his breath heavy and erratic. He stares at his reflection in the mirror, his face pale with disbelief at what he's just done. Without another word, he rushes out, clutching the box tightly. Ivan, one of the workers at the brothel, watches from a distance as Jerry speeds away, his car fading into the night. Jerry spots an ad for a motel in the dingy restroom, its edges torn and worn. He checks in for a week, swiping his card with a sense of urgency. The motel owner gives him a rundown of the rules, explaining he has to clean up the room before checking out. Jerry listens, but his mind is elsewhere. He quickly hides the box under the bed, then coldly tells the housekeeper not to enter his room, not for anything. Meanwhile, at the brothel, a detective examines the scene. He mutters something about Madame Jora's real name, Anna Grabinski, his voice low and steady. Ivan, standing nearby, insists that he's the only employee, the sole security guard keeping the place under control. But the detective isn't fooled. He catches the faint smell of cigarette smoke lingering in the air, something that doesn't fit with the clinic vibe. His suspicion grows. But Ivan stays calm, answering every question with practiced ease, refusing to let anything slip. Jerry can't stop thinking about the box. The memory of that strange, powerful experience haunts him every night. He keeps reliving the moment, his mind swirling with curiosity about what's inside. One day, he discovers a mysterious fluid inside the box, and when he touches it, it sparks something deep inside him, something he can't ignore. When he gets home, Lisa's waiting, her eyes filled with suspicion about his late-night work meetings. Jerry tries to use the fluid again, desperate for the same sensation, but Lisa interrupts him before he can. Frustrated, he ends up sleeping with her instead, though his mind is still elsewhere. The next morning, Lisa calls Mike, her voice full of concern. She tells him that Jerry's been acting distant, treating her like a one-night stand. It's making her wonder if he's still loyal to her. Mike relays her concerns to Jerry, but instead of listening, Jerry snaps, furious that Mike is talking to his wife behind his back. His anger bubbles over, but deep down, he's still not sure what to make of it all. As Lisa showers, a sharp, unbearable pain suddenly jolts through her lower body. Horrified, she looks down and sees something she can't comprehend, something that looks like him. Her mind races, her heart pounds as she struggles to make sense of it. Meanwhile, the detective is back at the brothel, pressing Ivan for answers. He feels like Ivan is hiding something, maybe to protect the person behind Madame Jora's death. The detective asks if anything was stolen after the murder, but Ivan quickly denies it. He even jokes that if he had the power to curse people like a psychic, he'd curse whoever did this to Madame Jora. The detective raises an eyebrow and asks why Ivan is so sure it was a man. Ivan shrugs, explaining that men often visit psychics and fortune tellers too. As the detective scans the room, his gaze lands on the mirror in the special room, and something about it sends a chill down his spine. He turns to Ivan, questioning him about the objects on the table. Ivan casually mentions a wooden box, as if it's just an ordinary item, nothing more. But the detective's instincts tell him otherwise. After using the box too many times, Jerry notices an uncomfortable rash spreading across his pelvic and groin area. He sees a doctor who prescribes an ointment and tells him to stop whatever he's been doing, but Jerry just can't let it go. He picks up the ointment and heads home, ignoring the warning. When Lisa talks to him about her suspicions, Jerry brushes it off at first with a quick, careless apology, but then he offers a more sincere apology, mumbling some comforting words before heading to bed. The burning pain in his stomach grows, and it presses harder against his navel. The next morning, Jerry can barely contain his impatience as he rushes to the box. But this time, something's different. The magic seems to be gone, and the fluid inside has vanished. His obsession takes over. He buys a bolt cutter from a nearby store and forces the box open. The moment the lock snaps, a foul stench pours out. Yet, blinded by his craving for whatever satisfaction the box once gave him, Jerry ignores the growing rash on his skin. He slathers on the ointment and pushes forward, determined to continue his twisted addiction. Lisa starts to piece things together when she hears from from Jerry's coworker that he's called in sick. She spots the motel's name on the card payment receipts in the mail. Determined to find the truth, Lisa tracks down the motel and searches for Jerry's room. She's cautious as she moves through the building, finally catching the housekeeper's attention. The housekeeper nods subtly, pointing her in the direction of Jerry's room. Lisa waits, her heart pounding, and when Jerry finally opens the door, she steps in without hesitation. The first thing she notices is the stench. Something foul, sticky, and wrong. She demands he bring out whoever he's cheating on her with, but Jerry denies it, his words coming out too quickly. His panic gives him away. He desperately tries to stop her from entering the bathroom, but she pushes past him, and that's when she sees it. Inside, a gooey, pulsating ball moves, almost like it's alive. Lisa recoils in disgust, but Jerry pulls her away, desperation written all over his face. In a flash, Jerry snaps. With no remorse, he grabs her by the throat and tightens his grip until she goes limp. When she passes out, Jerry doesn't show a shred of guilt. Instead, he strokes the disgusting living ball with the same affection he once showed his wife. But then, in a panic, Lisa gasps for air and stirs back to life. In a moment of cold fury, Jerry stabs her with the bolt cutter, his face blank and emotionless. The last shred of humanity within him is gone. Jerry moves quickly, cleaning up every trace of the terrible thing he just did. Once he's done, he heads back home, where the salesman with the snowblower is waiting for him. Jerry acts rude and dismissive towards him, not even caring. Then, with a coldness in his eyes, Jerry takes the slimy, pulsating ball to the bathtub and his wife's lifeless body to the attic. He decorates the attic with drapes and lights, almost lovingly as he caresses the strange mass, his mind far from what he once was. Meanwhile, Mike watches the news. He sees Ivan on TV speaking urgently. Ivan warns whoever killed Madame Jora and took the box, telling them he knows exactly what's happening to the person behind it. Ivan claims he is the only one who can stop the chaos. Mike jumps to his feet, rushing out as fast as he can. Jerry checks out of the motel and hands the keys back to the owner. The owner, curious about Jerry's stay, asks what he could have needed the room for. Noting that Jerry doesn't seem like the usual type of client, he jokingly asks if Jerry was a fugitive, molester, or even a murderer. Mike sneaks into Jerry's house through the garage looking for Lisa. He finds the strange room Jerry decorated, but it's empty. Outside, Jerry is seen tossing the box and bolt cutter into the trash, but the disgusting, greasy blob is still hidden at his place. Mike finds it and becomes more worried than ever. Jerry comes back, almost happy to see Mike. His rashes have spread up to his neck, and Mike can't hold back his concern. Mike warns him about Ivan's message and suggests he should visit Ivan for help. Jerry laughs at the idea that he could be linked to Madame Jora's death just because he stole the box. When Mike pushes Jerry to go to the hospital, Jerry's temper flares. He's furious that Mike came into his house without asking. Mike tries to reason with him, saying that if Jerry really did hurt Jora, he can help make it right. Jerry, growing more defensive, quickly changes the subject and brings up Lisa. Mike is shocked, and before he can process what just happened, Jerry starts blaming him for everything that's gone wrong. The argument quickly turns violent when Jerry chokes Mike with a plastic bag until he stops breathing. Jerry, with no sign of regret, goes to bed, hugging his magic ball for comfort. By morning, the rashes have spread all over his face and his teeth are trembling. He notices that something is wrong with the ball. The doorbell rings, and it's his friends showing up for his birthday, but Jerry refuses to let them in. When he returns to the room, the ball has shrunk into a small, black, jelly-like substance. Jerry stares at it, mourning its loss. Jerry eventually heads to meet Ivan, his face now completely covered in rashes. He looks different, almost like a sober version of himself. Ivan takes the remains of the ball, saying he'll try to fix it, but it will cost Jerry. Jerry casually mentions that the ball works for women too, adding that he tried it on his wife. Jerry asks Ivan if he can join his team, and to his surprise, Ivan agrees. As Ivan carefully carves a wooden version of the box, Jerry's condition worsens. His hair and teeth begin to fall out, and his skin starts to burn and melt. The box is nearly finished, but Jerry is now barely recognizable. His body has become a twisted, inflamed mass of flesh, and his skin melts like candle wax. In the final moments, Ivan takes Jerry's deformed head and places it in the new box, now called Stick It In Here. The detective visits Ivan with new evidence. Jerry's DNA was found on Madame Jora's money bills. Ivan quickly denies knowing Jerry. He notices the detective staring at his employees, so he tries to change the subject by offering him something more interesting, the special. So, which awesome movie should we recap next? Drop your suggestions in the comments below and let's make it happen. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button so you never miss out on our movie recaps. We've got plenty more coming your way. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Produced by Warner Movie Recaps.